Mr. Sanjiv was talking about high frequency. Mr. Jayant was also speaking. I just want to understand, sir, in case of high frequency, how we are going to deal with it. Means, as a layman, if I want to understand.
As a layman, if you want to understand, there are more of regulations and things like that that need to get in. There are more things, more flexibility that needs to get in terms of regulations, so that such things can be controlled. It is more difficult, much easier to talk and then to do this, because you understand. Say, if you know nothing about the sector, I'll still explain. See, there is a dispatch schedule that is given to every power plant, based on which it will be operating. And there is a generation schedule that will be available also from these people who are like, when you say solar renewables will also give a generation schedule. And based on that predicted schedule, what you do is you adjust the generation to meet your demand, whatever is the predicted demand. So what will happen? Solar does not have any control over generation. So today, how the sun will shine, how much more generation you will be able to get, nobody knows. Okay, so to precisely predict will be difficult. There is a limitation, as I told you. See, how will the frequency be controlled? If there is more generation, frequency is higher. Higher generation, lower demand, means higher frequency, higher voltage. These are the two things that can happen, and both happen. Okay, so frequency will also remain higher as well as voltage will remain higher. How will that be controlled? To control that, only way out is non-renewables need to be brought down. How will non-renewables go down? There are two things. One is you allow that forced sort of flexibility in terms of reducing that generation. Nobody is ready to reduce generation. A while ago, Mr. Sinha told nobody is there who is ready to. Why will he sacrifice his money? He keeps on dumping onto the grid, because that is the fixed money that he is supposed to get. On certain states, it is fixed at a higher limit that nobody will go below 70%. Somewhere it is 60%. So they need to go down to as low as 40%. Again, there also needs to be viability in terms of equipment. Turn down, as we say, the minimum load at which those equipments can operate. So those flexibilities need to be there in them. So what is currently done is largely those adjustments are made on hydel power. That also, when it is not rainy season, when dams are not full, so largely adjustments are there. Balance adjustments are made on hydel power to control this frequency. Still, as on this date, the frequency touches 50.3 at times. It was touching 50.4 in August. 3 days, I told you, 4th, 11th, and 25th of August 24. It has happened thrice, post which a lot of actions have got in, post which a lot of things have been planned by government, and a lot of actions are there which are identified through experts. So all those will be taken. As a layman or as a single user, we are not in a position to control that frequency. It is only the generators who can control that frequency. You cannot add more demand to it. Say the frequency increases now. It cannot happen that somebody will start a motor just like that to consume that power. Nobody will, because you need to pay for that power. Even if power is free, then also you will not start something, right? And it is not the right way of consuming power. Hope this clarifies.
See, the government has a major role to play as a regulator and as a policy maker, because policies and regulations will drive the sector in terms of what is required, what is to be done. So, for example, we had a policy or National Climate Action Plan in 2008, under which solar mission was activated in 2010 with a 20 gigawatt target by 2022. And then solar sector started developing as a large scale sector. Till that time, it was small scale. Distributed solar was a major, for rural electrification and remote area electrification. So distributed solar like home lighting systems, street lighting systems, mini grids, solar pumps, off grid solar systems was a major market segment. Post 2010, the policy and the program for large-scale grid integrated solar picked up, and that is how the scenario changed. In 2014, this government increased that target of 20 gigawatt to 100 gigawatt of solar. by 2022. So there was another push which has come. Subsequently, as mentioned by Jayant Sinha, the government has made international commitments on carbon reduction and greening of the grid, and that has increased the market, and it has given a large long-term visibility to the market in terms of policy and regulation. And that is where the investment starts coming in, because the government people know that now this is going to be a big business and this is going to be thing. So in terms of going for decarbonization or energy transition, the policies and program of the government is playing an important role to attract investments and attract private sector to come in for investments. Government may be doing some investments, but now the government's focus is to enable that environment so that investments starts coming in, and new technologies need larger investments, both in terms of infrastructure, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of technology transfer or technology development. And that is where government has you may be aware, the Department of Science and Technology, which basically controls and supports the research and development activity in the country, has started a program called Mission Innovation, which is an international collaboration program with where including India, there are 23 countries, and European Union as a separately. So they bring in money on the table for joint development, technology development in term, and there are different mission programs on green hydrogen, energy storage. We are doing one interesting research program on mobile energy, battery energy storage for putting it up in the substation. So, so at a substation level, the energy storage system, which will be already developed, and we are now, it is now under testing with a Scottish company, and this will help in stabilizing the power supply at a substation level with the utility. Tata Power Delhi is our partner in that. So there are a number of such programs which government is running. The second thing is the government has come out with the PIL scheme, performance and related schemes. So under the PIL scheme, the government is supporting the big industries if they achieve certain target in terms of efficiency of the product, or in terms of development of new products. And so they are giving capital subsidy support, or they are giving some other support in terms of facilities and others. So of course, then government can facilitate industry through tax benefits, through schemes like waiver of charges, transmission charges. For example, renewable electricity is free from interstate transmission charges, etc. So a number of ways are there where government is promoting and supporting the energy transition. Thank you.
So-
In fact, before going to energy storage, it is one of the sources of generation. But important thing is how correctly you are doing the baselining of the base load. So base load generation here is very important here, because now we are moving from centralized generation to decentralized generation. There are a lot of predictability. So what is happening is that all the system operators, typically the grid controller of India, they have this, they run all these system operations. So they monitor all the dispatch schedules, and they also also know they have to collect the generation schedules, and then they have to estimate what is the baseload generation and how they prepare all these generators to ensure that these are maintained. Secondly, the variations, because the load may vary. One of the things which I was involved in one of the projects where we had a similar problem, where the Energy Command Center got all these data, but they employed certain AI/ML algorithms where they were able to predict what is the demand going to be in the future, so that they prepare in advance about this thing. Number three, there is something which is called as a ABT, availability based tariff meters, ABT meters, which are the boundary meters. All these generators, whosoever are contributing to the grid, they have to follow certain rules. These rules have to be framed very strictly, and that can only be possible when the grid data is available, where we have the data from the ABT meters, where we have also the generation data. We also have the demand and dispatch data, so that we are able to impose something which is called as the UI charges. Unscheduled interchange charges. So if someone is violating those rules and they are not able to back down the generation, they'll be penalized. But most importantly, there is something which is called as demand side management. Without demand side management, where the industries and the big consumers are incentivized, if the grid frequency goes high, more than say 50.3 or 50. This is so they are incentivized to on their own reduce their load. I mean, there are a lot of non-essential loads which can be reduced without affecting the productivity. So this is very important to include all these large consumers in the fold of energy efficiency and demand side management. So I have already told you the monitoring of the base load generation, energy efficiency, demand side management, and doing better predictive monitoring of all the energy parameters through ABT and EOI charges. Plus, you definitely, this capability has to come by inducting technologies in a way where we should be able to do the forecasting and modeling in a better way. So forecasting and modeling is playing a very important role here. So, already I have mentioned in my presentation as well that the government is committed because of the nationally determined contributions to the UN for the climate change, adhering to that protocol. And there are three major policy push. One is on the national policy on the biofuels, national policy on the green hydrogen, and then the national policy on the electrical vehicles. So these three are important pathways. Apart from that, what is important is how we are able to monitor our energy demand as correctly as possible, so that we not only ensure that our resources are optimized, but we are able to generate energy efficiently. So these are some of the things where we can accelerate this energy transition and reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. We are gradually going in this direction already. We have some renewable energy capacity around 210 gigawatt as on date, and we are there are new solar and wind and bioenergy plants which are coming up. And definitely we would also be needing a lot of these technology interventions in terms of data. Data is very crucial if we have to accelerate this energy transition, and we know how to monitor and we have to impose that renewable energy mix. There is a renewable energy obligations as well. We have to ensure that all these renewable energy obligations are met, so that gradually the fossil based energy goes down. So these are different ways by which we can accelerate energy transition through low carbon initiatives.
When we started this energy transition, it was perhaps looking that things may happen much faster. But when we look at a lot of things like variation in the energy generation and all, it appears that it may not happen that fast. When we say that some fossil fuels will completely go off, it may still take time till the time we have got complete replacement. See, even for getting an energy storage system, it is something which government is looking at incentivizing so that people install it. People are not very much interested in installing it. Currently, whatever government proposes is 4 hours of battery storage. That is what is proposed. So it will still take time. At hours when we are not having, say, other sources, we are, as I told you, largely most of our generation comes from either solar or from wind. Most of the people, most of the people who are associated with power, they already, even in many industries now, have gone into these solar power plants. But what helps them is only through the day. What about the night, or what about the hours from, say, if we say, to be precise, maybe around, if in a summer month, maybe around 5 o'clock to next day morning 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So what happens? You need a support there. So that needs to be looked into. Other things like hydrogen needs to get in like a source for generation, which is not there largely as of now. If hydrogen can be utilized, that is something that can revolutionize things like anything. That is something that could become a fuel of future, and a lot of things will change behind it. Yes, renewables will help you in terms of vehicles, as rightly told by Mr. Sinha. Electric vehicles and all can be promoted, and all charging can be made to be done during day hours only. You can say that power will be available to them only during day hours or during night hours. There are many such, see, currently, like, you have got a lot of digitization facilities, and as much has not yet been used for the grid, for the renewables. It is not completely integrated, although large amount of information is digitally available at one place to the regulators, but not everything. So once everything gets available at one place, predictability will improve. There will be more and more stability, and then migration will also be better, because you'll have better data. Instead of collating the data, you have got real time data. So currently what we are doing is we collect data from many generators, consumers, we collate them, we collect some data from ABT meters and then collate them. Some may be time synchronized, some may not be. There may be certain issues further. So all that, as it goes to my maybe largely your thermal generation may go down to as low as 30%. But beyond that, still till the time hydrogen takes full shape, you'll have to wait.
I will say policy will play important role, as I mentioned, in attracting investments and setting the direction. But it is not the only thing. What, as mentioned by Sanjiv Prasad and Jayant Sinha, technologies and different options need to be explored more rigorously, uh, and modernization of electricity grid, that is, I think, one of the important aspect, because earlier you have a centralized power generation and it is distributed in certain fashion across the country. But now you have power generation coming from a small rooftop of 3 kilowatt or half a kilowatt, and it is feeding in the power. So power generation is happening at many places. So modernization of the grid control mechanism or safety mechanisms uh, is also an important aspect. And as mentioned by Mr. Prasad, this is still not happening at the country level. It is happening in certain states, in certain areas where uh, you know there is a focus program for improving transmission grid capacity and availability for extracting the renewable power, because the renewable power can be generated at any place practically, especially the solar power. So one need to have those kind of controls, the new metering system, and then all that vast data which is coming need to be analyzed, and some kind of inferences can be taken out using modern technologies like AI, which are basically data mining technologies, and where one can see the trends on a real time basis. And then there can be a control mechanism or the mechanism to manage these monitor and manage this grid more effectively. So that is one aspect of it. Second aspect is how fast can we go? As mentioned, the complete shutting down of grid is not going to happen. Fossil fuel generation is not going to happen, because we have coal in the country. We have coal which can supply power for another 200 odd years. So that is the resource which we already have in the country. So what is one is looking at? One is looking at reducing the impact of GHG emission from coal or thermal power plants, where, for example, NTPC has just set up a carbon dioxide CO2 capture and utilization mechanism. So in this case, you capture CO2 which is to be emitted in the atmosphere, and use that CO2 with hydrogen or with other as a chemical agent to produce fuel, or produce, say, aviation grade fuel, or ammonia, or other uh, 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 chemicals which can be then used. So carbon dioxide is recirculated in that fashion. So those are the technologies which are still emerging, and one need to kind of focus on those technologies. Especially the industries need to come forward and invest in developing the technology. Our industries are typically, they like to see that something is happening and something is tested or established outside, and then they will go for the technology. So thereby we have already missed the bus in say solar photovoltaics, where China has taken lead by large scale manufacturing. Uh, and then with that, they are also doing a lot of R&D and development, so that they are always ahead of the curve. And so there is some possibility now we have in battery storage or in hydrogen, where we can look for innovation for technology which are homegrown technologies. Our industry always depends on the technologies which are developed and tested and commercialized outside, and then they try to bring in. That's a risk-free kind of a route. But one has to trust our technology development and invest in technology development within the country. We had a recently seminar on hydrogen with IIT Mumbai, and I was astonished to see there are 46 groups in IIT Mumbai alone who are doing research on some aspect of hydrogen technology. Somebody is working on material, somebody working on storage technology, somebody working on absorption based storage technology, somebody working on control mechanisms, or materials for storage. So there are so many aspects, and that is something which I think the government should push. And there is a already demand that R&D expenditure can be come from say CSR funds, because government has mandated large companies to at least 2% of their earning, they should use it in corporate social responsibility programs, which are typically health or education related programs. Now, there is a government is trying to push this fund. There is a huge amount of fund is that can be invested in research and development activities by the companies. So we will have all this development happening. We have huge IT industry which is serving global bigwigs, but that IT industry is not kind of strength is not being used to modernize our own grid to the extent it is possible. So these are some of the issues which I think the government can push industries to invest, and industries on their own should come, because this risk-free investments is something which is actually holding them back. And if we want to go for a $5 trillion economy, we need to have our own technologies and our own our research and development strength. Then only we can rule the world in the commercial way, not in the administrative way. But in the technologies, we should be the ruling, and we have immense manpower. There is no dearth of manpower, there is no dearth of intelligence, no dearth of funds also, but only there is a lack of will, which has to come.
So I think it is nicely explained by Professor Shirish Garud, and I would like to add that this see, electricity is a concurrent subject, so the center and states have to work in tandem. Another thing is that devising policies is one thing, because I have been part of these several programs and consultations where we formulate nice policies and all, but program implementation is something which is very important. How you implement it on the ground, number one. Secondly, how you generate a lot of confidence among the investors who are the green financiers. Right now, there are many projects which have not even started because of the necessary green financing not available. This may be due to lack of belief or some kind of a validation or the business plans or whatever may be the case. And secondly, one of the main challenges is program implementation. So this is very important that when you are devising the policy, you are ensuring that you can run it right through the program implementation with adequate, not just for the policy support, but we also need the green financing support, for which we definitely need the involvement of our large consumers, our industries, and last but not the least, the consumer awareness. We have to make them aware. If someone is going in for loans or equity financing or debt financing and all, then those financiers also need to understand the entire ecosystem. It is not just about technology; it's also about the implementation. So this is what I wanted to say.